This Sunday, KCRA will air our new documentary titled Always Remember Your Name. Deirdre Fitzpatrick joins us now in studio with more about the sisters featured in this documentary.
So Always Remember Your Name is the story of the Bucci sisters. Andra and Tatiana Bucci are two of the youngest survivors of the Auschwitz concentration camp, and many describe their book as a parallel story to Anne Frank's. Tina Ferguson is the owner of Face in a Book bookstore and is joining us with some suggestions to introduce children and teens to the Holocaust. And for a lot of us, Anne Frank's story was really the introduction to that time in history.
100%. An introduction to that moment in history, and also an introduction to children's roles in history and how they can make a big difference in what's happening around them and for the future.
You've brought a number of books, and it is interesting, like as early as the age of 3, which is what this book is recommended for, you can actually start introducing children to these historical events.
Yes, I love children's picture books that are centered around nonfiction events, and this is The Tree of Life, how a sapling inspired the world. And this is a true story that takes place in the Terezin concentration camp. A gentleman there would, in secret, meet with Jewish children, and he'd teach them about their traditions and about their holidays, one which is the New Year of the Trees. And he somehow got a guard at this camp to sneak in a sapling in his boot. And they took the sapling, and he and the children planted it in secret, and every day in secret would care for it, share what little water they had with the tree. And 6 years later, when the war was over, the tree was over 5 feet tall, and now there's over 600 saplings from that original tree around the world.
Just got chills with you talking about that. It's beautiful. Lois Lowry, who some people might remember, she has written a book called The Giver, which is a book that's used in a lot of high schools as required reading. She has another one about the Danish resistance, and this one is called Number the Stars.
Yes.
And this is a true story.
It is a true story, and it's powerful because it's told from the eyes of 10-year-old Anna Marie. So it's told from a child's perspective about what is going on around her, and as she sees these people risking their very lives to get people to safety in Sweden. And her friend Ellen, her best friend, is hidden with her family, and then she goes off to Sweden. And the cover at the end of the story, she's clutching her friend's necklace, hoping that when the war is over, they'll get to be reunited.
A lot of people don't know about Denmark's role in the war. 90% of the Jews in Denmark survived World War II because of
over 7,000, yes,
of people there. This is a fascinating one. This is called When We Flew Away, and this is by Alice Hoffman. This is a story about the years before Anne Frank was deported to Auschwitz.
Yes, I love that this book opens with Anne Frank just as any other 12-year-old, just thinking big things and dreaming big dreams, wants to go to California and live life, and she then has to go into hiding, and she is, she gets to learn about all these things that are happening and how she can make a difference. And I just think it's really powerful. Alice Hoffman actually said that she became a writer because of reading Diary of a Young Girl when she was a young girl herself.
Wow. The Book Thief is a book that I think a lot of people might recognize because this was actually turned into a movie at one point.
It was. Please, please, please read the book and then see the movie. But this book really has resonated with me for so long. It's unlike any book I've read. It's narrated by Death. And Death actually sees this one little girl named Liesel who's stealing books. Liesel is stealing books before she even knows how to read because she knows they're important, and she becomes the book thief. And it's just a story about about the power of words, really, to heal, but also how they can hurt.
Okay, this one I found very fascinating. So this is called Whitebird. It's by R.J. Palacio. If you saw the movie and read the book Wonder,
yes,
there is a character, the bully from Wonder, is actually the main character in this book.
Yes, so I chose this book because it's a graphic novel, which is really great for storytelling. It's really good for those reluctant readers who don't want to get bogged down in history, but this will be something that's really going to be sitting strong with them. Julian is having a FaceTime with his grandmother, Sarah, who was in the concentration camps, and as she is retelling him her story, he's realizing that the bully that he was, the person that he was, can change. He can learn how to be empathetic. He can learn how to change and make a difference after being that kind of individual.
And then as we wrap up, our documentary is called Always Remember Your Name, and it's actually the same title as the sisters' memoir. It's written, they wrote this book, and as they write it, you genuinely feel like two young girls are remembering what happened to them, and then also what happened to them the rest of their life.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult to explain, but it's really an amazing book, and certainly worth also introducing your children to at some point. Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it.